Good afternoon, everyone. Right, I've got the post-afternoon, post-lunch slump, so I'm hoping I can keep everyone awake. Without making this feel a bit like a confessional, before we get started, it'd be really interesting just to gauge who's in the audience. So, hands up if you would consider yourself to be in B2B. How many B2Bers? Looks like almost a full house of B2B marketeers. B2C, anybody in B2C? Okay. What about anyone who considers themselves to be both in B2B and B2C? Okay, so it's interesting. A lot of the B2Bers think that we're in both B2B and B2C, which is good to see. Thanks very much for that. Hopefully, I'll tailor this to everyone in the audience, but no doubt you can judge me at the end. When I was first asked to join you today to come and talk to you, my initial thinking had been to really approach this from the perspective of how different B2B and B2C really are. And then I started to really think about the differences between them. And of course, there are differences. But the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about the organizations I've worked in, the more it became clear to me that those lines between B2C and B2B are no longer there. And they are increasingly becoming blurry. A bit like what we used to think about as above the line and below the line. Really, there is no more line anymore. And so it became clearly apparent to me that although there are differences, there's a lot that B2B can learn from B2C, and likewise a lot that B2C can learn from B2B. And thinking about some of the world's greatest brands, from Intel and O2 to Google, these are brands that have translated very clear business strategies across both B2B and B2C to deliver enviable results. At a very high level, whether you're in B2B or B2C, the marketing aims for all of us are the same. For all of us, we want to attract new prospects at the lowest possible cost using the most efficient methods. We want to convert those prospects into our customers with a particular focus on those who are most likely to be the most valuable. And of course, we all want to retain our customers, particularly those who are most valuable, and make the very tough decision not to actively pursue those who don't deliver that profitability for us. And actually, whether you're in B2B or B2C, many of the techniques that we use today are the same. While the media channels themselves differ, both disciplines actively use advertising. And while perhaps from a B2B perspective, we most strongly associate advertising as being the preserve of B2C marketeers, from the disciplines of media planning and mass media advertising, in today's era of measurement and accountability, the opportunities for B2B to take advantage of previously underexplored advertising opportunities have never been as accessible as they are today. SEM. Who among us would argue for a moment that today SEM is not one of the single most important foundations to any credible marketing plan? And with the targeting and strategic options available today, I'm sure all of us have a laser focus on this particular area. PR. Most organizations have realized how important PR can be in helping to deliver and support corporate and campaign messages, no matter who you are. Partnerships, more and more being exploited by both B2B and B2C to effectively deliver messages to new customers. Experiential. Experiential is an area which has really grown over the past few years, as budget holders have found it delivers advantages over other marketing tools, especially in helping us to build brand loyalty and encouraging word of mouth. A recent study found that 80% of B2B marketers described experience-based activities as being important within budgets, with a lot of them saying that they were planning to invest around 1/3 of their budgets in experiential. Email and direct marketing. We've never had more opportunities for sophisticated targeting, measurement, and retention. And marketers are, unsurprisingly, increasing the amount of time, effort, and budget spent on this area. A recent DMA study showed that 56% of B2B and B2C marketers are planning to increase expenditure on email marketing in particular. And of course, the buzzword of social. But social is an interesting one because it's traditionally been associated with B2C brands. But there are B2B brands out there who are using it very successfully. Live Bookings, as an example, uses social not only to demonstrate thought leadership, but also to support their wider PR and SEO strategies. And of course, with tighter budgets, the need to demonstrate ROI by retaining customers has never been more prevalent. And with the use of email, direct mail, and increasingly mobile, all are being utilized to retain our customers. So both B2B and B2C are utilizing all these techniques to ultimately achieve the same thing of brand loyalty and recommendation. So the marketing aims are the same, the techniques are the same, but there are absolutely areas in which B2C and B2B are different, and which each discipline could learn from each other. So let's start off by taking a look at B2C and some of the advantages and learnings we can take from B2C marketeers. Firstly, understanding trends. B2C brands focus a considerable amount of time in understanding market trends, as well as the shifts in customer expectations and needs. From the impact of economic changes to the changing shape of the modern family, from the rise in the spending power of females to the increasing desire for experiences. Successful B2C brands use insights to shape their organizations and their spend. If you are a B2B brand, how can you leverage these to create compelling propositions, products, or services to help your B2C customers either understand the market trends or capitalize on them? If you are a B2C brand, how can you actively seek out the suppliers who can help you to deliver these unique, differentiated propositions to your consumers? Secondly, positioning. Of course, it would be very unfair of me to argue that B2B brands do not position themselves. But it is frequently B2C brands who tend to invest significantly in brand building and differentiation, while B2B tends to focus more on reputation, personal relationships, and consultative selling. B2C brands have also embraced the opportunities afforded by the internet, as well as social media, to engage in conversations with live consumers, which together with some of the traditional advertising methods have helped them to build their brands. However, the internet is changing the approach to brand building for B2B brands as much as it has B2C brands, with the most successful organizations increasingly using the same techniques to build a clear positioning through direct interactions with their customers. Thirdly, segmentation and targeting. Despite the recent increase in the buzzword of big data within our industry, the use of data to facilitate sophisticated segmentation within the B2C arena is not new, with Amazon perhaps the most renowned example. This segmentation, coupled with insights on customer trends that I mentioned earlier, enable B2C brands to undertake as near to one-to-one marketing as is possible. This is an area in which B2B can really learn from B2C. And I'll talk more about this a little bit later. So we've seen some of the advantages that B2C offers. What about B2B? Firstly, B2B markets are frequently small, vertical markets with prospects ranging from a few hundred to a few thousand. The prospects, if you can successfully convert them, of course, often represent a significantly higher monetary value. And this enables B2B marketers to focus efforts on cultivating quality prospects using niche-specific media and marketing techniques, shying away from mass marketing. It's interesting to me to see how some modern B2C brands have actually started adopting the same techniques to really focus on niche markets. And perhaps the one that springs to mind most for me is Facebook, how they started their business focused on the very niche Harvard student population before expanding to become the giants they are today. Secondly, B2B organizations have very long selling cycles, with the purchase process frequently lasting months and sometimes years. The sale is frequently complex. It involves consultative selling, as we've already mentioned, across multiple stakeholders and across all levels of an organization, with a focus on understanding clients' needs and building trust. The lengthy purchase process requires a need to satisfy and ensure that your customer is convinced that your product or service fits their needs best. And relationship building is absolutely critical to success. Bar a few exceptions for large purchases like houses, cars, and holidays, the B2C cycle tends to be much, much shorter, from a few seconds for impulse purchases to a few minutes or days. And although not as individualized, the B2C sales process increasingly relies on building trust, authenticity, and reliability with your customers, particularly in today's era of social media-driven transparency. So this is an area where B2C can really learn from B2B. Thirdly, measurement. Despite a lower volume of transactions, B2B tends to attract higher revenue values per transaction with a much higher return on investment. And this is, of course, factored into the level of investment resources, time, and marketing. Although not applicable for many B2C brands, who tend to operate, of course, volume-based, low-margin businesses, those who do operate in industries like housing, automotive, and other large-ticket items would do well to apply the same techniques when thinking about their marketing strategies. And lastly, customer lifetime value. Done correctly, a B2B customer is extremely profitable and can deliver a very large customer lifetime value, with a very strong likelihood of repeat purchase or add-on products. This really touches on the point I made earlier around the need to invest in the relationship and in creating trust in order to facilitate these higher lifetime values. Although B2C customers frequently do not command as high a lifetime value, with unprecedented choice and competition, it has never been easier for consumers to switch brands, creating even more of a need for B2C brands to focus on developing products, services, and initiatives aimed at retaining customers at all costs. So bringing this back to the start, I started out by saying that the marketing aims are the same, and many of the techniques are the same, and pointed out, obviously, where there are some differences. But ultimately, the funnel and the marketing funnel as we've known it has, of course, evolved, but remains the same whether you're in B2B or B2C. Crucial to any brand is ensuring you build a good level of awareness, of course, with a clear point of difference and use of appropriate channels. This drives consideration of what we have to offer, and of course results in preference and hopefully ultimately purchase. Although there are differences, of course, in the lead times between B2B and B2C, I don't think any of us here today would disagree that this used to be the way we used to think about our marketing, hoping that, of course, this would lead to loyalty. But in this new world of social media, user reviews, and transparency, we have an inverted funnel, where we are actually completely reliant on satisfied customers to not only become our advocates, but to ultimately create awareness on our behalf, whether we are in B2B or B2C. So, as a B2B brand, what are the key learnings from a B2C perspective that might be useful to think about when you plan your strategy? Customer-side marketers today have never been as much under time pressure as they are. The reality of job and budget cuts, recruitment and pay freezes, as well as the complexities brought on by the growth of internet and social media, have resulted in a need for those employed in organizations to multitask like never before, with a need to wear many different hats, take on tasks which frequently would have had one person dedicated to them, all while demonstrating measurement and accountability. There simply isn't the luxury of time for customers to care enough about what a supplier might have to offer. If you are a B2B marketer, how can you use this insight to ensure that when you approach a target customer, you can quickly demonstrate that you understand them, their organization, or their industry. As someone working client-side, I'm frequently approached by organizations who still adopt a one-size-fits-all approach to their marketing, who may assume, for example, that because they work in the latest buzzword industry or have some level of experience in my category, that they should automatically have an open door. For example, while protecting the guilty parties and the person who sent this to me, I did want to share with you a recent example of an email I received from an agency, and I will apologize in advance if the individual is in the audience. The email was titled "Apologies in Advance," which, again, sort of is a testament to the confidence this person has in their agency. I will read it out to you for those who can't see it at the back. Celia, you've never heard of me. I got your email from a list. Gasp. But hey, you're list-worthy. That's got to be something, right? Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. I'm emailing you because I run an online marketing agency with a team of 10. I used to work at large digital agencies with big brand clients offering online marketing services, SEO, PPC, social media, analytics, content creation, and bedroom tidying. For nearly 2 years, we've run our own agency, and we're absolutely loving it. It is so good to not feel like we are ripping clients off and doing the very best work we've ever done. We have a rather lovely office and I'm looking to try and win new clients over to our side and away from those evil, okay, maybe not evil, but not as good other agencies. We have some big names on board, but being the ambitious bunch we are, we won't settle for anything other than total domination. If you let me have a chat with you about your online marketing needs, I will buy you lunch and promise to be entertaining. I may even wear a top hat. First off, I'd love to provide you with some ideas you are free to steal. I've attached a picture of a ferret that has been dressed up. According to the internet, his name is Colin. I trust this will charm you into submission. I await your profanity-filled response. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Whilst, of course, mildly amusing to get this email, it didn't actually demonstrate any understanding of me, my industry, my needs, or my organization. So, needless to say, I did not respond to this particular note. But it is surprising how many of these types of emails and phone calls I get. Secondly, strongly tied to being cash and time poor, organizations have never felt the need to demonstrate the returns on every penny that gets spent more. ROI is the new buzzword. It is the B2B organizations who can clearly show how customers can not only measure the returns from their investments, but who are able to provide evidence of how they can help their customers measure this, who are likely to succeed. Thirdly, all B2C organizations today are constantly looking for ways in which they can create brand differentiation in order to drive preference, purchase, and loyalty among their consumers. Smart B2B marketers use this to create a compelling B2B2C strategy aimed at enabling their customers to surprise and delight their end consumers, with B2C organizations hungry for partners who can work with them to create this. The best example of this I can think of is Intel, who not only developed technology for their B2B customers, but actually took the bold step of reaching out to end consumers to create demand, not only leveraging that to create their own sales, but actually helping their customers to drive preference. And let's face it, most of us don't actually know what it means to have Intel inside, but we all want it. An absolutely genius marketing strategy. Ultimately, whether as a B2B or a B2C organization, marketing remains the engine for growth in all businesses, as long as we are willing to embrace the challenges and opportunities this brings. To do this, we must demonstrate a deep understanding of customers, or indeed our customers' customers. We must provide our organizations with reliable intelligence to identify where to compete, particularly when it comes to digital. And of course, we must identify methods for defining a product's value and credibly communicating this to customers. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand at the edge of a precipice. The world is changing, our customers' expectations are changing, and things will never be the same again. And for those brave enough Now is the time to reinvent B2B marketing for a new era, embracing all the learnings from B2C and unashamedly leveraging these for B2B. So to conclude, here are my top 5 tips for modern B2B marketing. First, listen. Use social media and online to understand the challenges of your target industry or clients. And once you have that understanding, find a way of understanding the individual challenges of the companies you want to target. Yes, this takes time. Yes, this takes effort. But given the likely returns, it's well worth that effort. Secondly, targeting. Leveraging the insights that you've obtained, target individual companies on a bespoke basis. Find out who the key players are. Don't email everyone in the organization. Find out whether they prefer email or phone. Use LinkedIn, use mutual contacts to get an in to that business rather than blanket marketing to everyone. And with that appropriate approach, this helps you create standout by demonstrating insight and understanding of their strategy, of what they aim to do, what their positioning is, who their target market is, and specifically how you can help them. Fourth, have a point of difference. If your offering is fairly generic, so you might be in software, you might be in advertising, or you may provide some other level of services, it's really critical for you to find something to differentiate your organization. For example, do you have the most well-respected people in your industry who you could put forward and actually you leverage? Do you have insights that nobody else has access to? Or does your offering create genuine differentiation for your customers? And finally, make a measurable difference to your client's bottom line. This is the single best way in which you can ensure your clients are loyal, even to the point where they will be willing to pay more for your products and services, as well as becoming your best advocates. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions.